Remoraid and Octillery are probably the most well-hidden Generation 2 Pokémon. In Gold and Silver they're found in just one route with the Super Rod unless they're swarming, and in Crystal they got the Ampharos treatment and were removed entirely from the wild. Are they some overly powerful enigmatic Pokémon, or is this just Game Freak being Game Freak? We'll find out together. As always, we'll start with the 7 rules of the challenge. Number 1, the timer will start when walking away from Professor Elm after receiving the starter Pokémon. Number 2, only the challenge Pokémon may be used in battle. Number 3, no items in battle except balls to catch HM friends. Number 4, no evasion increasing TMs such as Double Team. Number 5, no intentional uses of glitches or exploits. Number 6, no rare candies until facing red. And number 7, the timer may be paused for breaks in recording, but no inputs may be made when the timer is paused. I used the Universal Pokémon Randomizer to replace Totodile with Remoraid. That way the rival will carry the Meganium line throughout the entire storyline and hopefully put up a bit of a fight. I named the Remoraid Sniper after the person that piqued my interest for doing this challenge, and then we can take a look at its stats. We have 18 HP, we're holding a berry and have Water Gun. Our attack is 12, our defense is 9, our special attack is 12, our special defense is 9, and our speed is 12. And with all that, we are ready to set off on our journey. So we leave Professor Elm's laboratory to embark on our journey around the Johto region with just a fish, and as always I will show you the first encounter. We go up against a Rattata and it is a 2 shots to knock it out. So that's not bad going. We've had a lot of 3 and 4 shots in recent times, so it's good to have one that can knock things out quite quickly. And looking at our learn set, it's one of the most diverse I've seen through Level Up. We learn not only water type moves, but we learn psychic, ice and normal type moves as well, and that could prove to be very beneficial later on in the game. And as we try to leave Cherry Grove City, we get ambushed by the rival. We only have Water Gun for this battle, but Chikorita doesn't have the best attack. We're also holding a berry, which means we actually have 32 HP as opposed to 22 HP, and it's just going to be chipping away ever so slightly until we do get past it. That should hopefully be the worst of the rival fights, and we can move on into the laboratory, where we can name our rival Triple Question Mark, because that's what he called himself. And we can leave, never to go back to the laboratory until we're the champions. That is our promise to Professor Elm. We get to Violet City's gym and we encounter Falkner. He's our first of 16 gym leaders. This one is a flying type leader. He leads with Pidgey and we do over half damage in our first hit. Our second hit knocks it out and we are on to the Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto does minimal damage with Gust as we do a third damage each time to knock it out and get our first gym badge in 7 minutes and 50 seconds, but do remember we haven't done Sprout Tower yet. Trying to go up against all those Bellsprout with our Remoraid would just be giving it a death wish, so we'll come back to that later, and in the meantime we will enter into Union Cave. In Union Cave we get our first TM that we're going to be teaching to Remoraid, and this one is Swift. Swift's a decent normal type move and will provide some excellent type coverage for those Pokemon that we cannot hit. I do believe with a normal and a water type move you're able to hit everything for neutral damage in this game. Please do correct me if I'm wrong because I heard that somewhere and I cannot for the life of me remember where I heard it. In the meantime I'll tell you that we catch a Psyduck and a Paras as we always do in these runs. Psyduck's going to be our Water HM user, and Paras is going to be our Cut and Flash user. And with our 2 HM friends safely in our party, we can move on into Azalea Town proper. The first thing we've got to do is deal with Team Rocket in the Slowpoke Well, but as always nothing really interesting happened there, so I will skip through it and take you straight to the gym. We're against Bugsy, the Bug-type leader, and I wonder what came first, his penchant for Bug-type Pokemon or his name. Anyway, he's got 3 Pokemon and leads with a Metapod. We do half damage on the Metapod and take it out in a second Water Gun. Out comes Kakuna, we do over half damage, and we take it out to be on full HP for the Scyther. Scyther gets to Fury Cuttering and does a little bit of damage, but does huge damage with Quick Attack. Quick Attack knocks us out, so we will try again. We know at this point that the Kakuna and the Metapod are trivial Pokemon. We just have to focus on finding a way to defeat the Scyther. So we get through the Kakuna and the Metapod and we are back on with full HP. He starts to Fury Cutter and Fury Cutter loves to build power every single turn and it's still a 3-shot. So we're going to have to grind, and my first instinct was to try the rival fight so we can grind in the Ilex Forest, or even just get a couple of levels off the rival in general. but this Bayleaf proved to be very tricky. Even without a critical hit, Razor Leaf did 32 damage, and we don't deal enough damage back to knock it out. So it's into the Union Cave we go. I chose there because it's full of ground types, however the final Pokemon we knock out to get to level 19 was a Zubat. Final Pokemon we knock out to level 20 was a Zubat as well, but being 2 levels higher than we were and a whole 4 minutes older than we were, hopefully now we'll be able to take out that pesky Scyther. So we get to work on the Metapod, and once again it does no damage to us. Out comes the Kakuna, and it's the same as always. It just uses Harden once, doesn't attack us at all, and we're on to the Scyther with full HP. He gets a critical hit on us, and Remoraid didn't like that, so he gets a critical hit back. With 5 HP, we knock out the Scyther, and we have beaten Bugsy with a time of 24 minutes and 57 seconds. That was over 17 minutes between Falconer and Bugsy, and we have Rival 2 to go as well. At this point, I really do not want to grind the extra 2 levels, because that would take over 5 minutes, and I think it would be quicker to just brute force this rival battle. We get through the Ghastly and we're on to the Bayleaf. It uses Reflect first turn, which I found a little bit weird, but a single critical hit Razor Leaf was enough to knock us out, so we try again. Once again we Water Gun the Ghastly. It licks us but doesn't paralyse us, so we're only missing 3 HP for the Bayleaf, and I try Water Gun just to see how well it does, and the answer is very badly. So it's back to Swift we go, and we get a very lucky critical hit to knock out the Bayleaf. We are on to the final Zubat, and it's just a couple of Water Guns to take it out. So we are finally out of Azalea Town, and we can move on into Goldenrod City. We've got a few bits and bobs to do in Goldenrod. The first thing we need to do on the way there is get cut, and then I decide to take on a single wild Drowsy. We were only a Drowsy's worth of experience away from a bunch of moves, and it'd be nice to have them for the underground, so we learned Psybeam, Aurora Beam and Bubble Beam all in one go. We replaced Lock On with Aurora Beam, we replaced Water Gun with Bubble Beam, and Psybeam went in our empty slot, so our new learn set is Bubble Beam, Aurora Beam, Swift and Psybeam. We pick up the coin case, and then we get a haircut for our Remoraid. This time we're just doing a little bit of the fins. Sniper looks happy, and we can move on and buy our Abra. 2,000 Pokédollars later, we have our Abra, and that is going to be used for teleport. We can then go and grab the bicycle, because I didn't do it in my first little bit around Goldenrod, so now we can move an awful lot quicker than we could. And now it's time to steal Kenya for another video. I swear one of these days I will return Kenya. However, right now I'm working on building up my own Spearow army, so I need all the clones I can get. We chat to the flower shop lady, we get Dig, and we'll teach it to Paris. And now it's time to go into the gym. Before battling Whitney, we do have this mandatory trainer to take care of, and throughout the run I got a tiny bit more experience than I'd hoped to have gotten. I am just a smidge over level 25, which means we're evolving into Octillery. I was hoping to evolve after the gym battle, however one wild Pokemon too many in the run was enough to knock that plan right out of the water. We reject Octazooka because it is a very poor accuracy move, which is ironic really because it has a 50% chance of dropping the opponent's accuracy, and on to Whitney we go. We do great damage on the Clefairy, which doesn't go boom this time, and we are on to Miltank. Miltank starts to roll, but we do over half damage with our first Bubble Beam, and the second Bubble Beam knocks Miltank out. So we get the plain badge off Whitney, and we can move onwards and upwards into Ecruteak City. And the first thing we do when we're there is teach Surf to our Octillery. We get it in front of the Kimono Girls, and that means Bubble Beam is going to be a very short-lived move. Surf is an incredibly strong water-type move, having 95 base power and still having 15 PP. This is going to be one of our staple moves for the entire rest of the run, and with that we can move on into rival number 3. We don't outspeed the Swearing Haunter, which means we are on a clock for the rest of the battle, but we finish it off with a Psybeam. We're on to Magnemite, and one shot from Surf is enough to take it down. Out comes the Bayleaf, and now we have Aurora Beam to do great damage. Bayleaf uses Reflect instead of attacking us, and that means we can knock it out. And we Aurora Beam the Zubat to defeat rival number 3. And once again, before moving on to Morty's gym, I need to run back to the National Park. I've done it again, and I've forgotten to grab the Quick Claw. Whenever we have a Pokemon with low base speed, the Quick Claw is an absolute boon. It just gives us that extra chance to hit first, which can make all the difference between a victory and a loss. So at Morty's gym we have 4 Ghost Poison type Pokemon to deal with, and the first one is Ghastly. We outspeed the Ghastly and knock it out with Surf. Out comes the Haunter, we outspeed it, and that means we're not getting sworn at in this battle. Gengar comes out and the Quick Claw activates. He misses Hypnosis twice, and that gives us the opportunity to knock out the Gengar. Final Pokemon is Haunter, it uses Nightshade, but we knock it out and we get our 4th badge. The fog badge is ours with a time of 42 minutes and 28 seconds, so we're not doing terribly time-wise, especially compared to some flora. And now we can move on to Olivine City, where we pick up Strength. That's going to be taught to our Psyduck, along with Surf, just in case I decide to forget Surf, although I don't think I ever will forget Surf once I've taught it. At the top of the lighthouse, we do get asked to go to Cyanwood City, and we also pick up the rare candy, and then we can sail across the ocean over to Cyanwood City. The first thing we do is grab the secret potion so that we can heal up Ampharos a little bit later on, and we might as well take on the gym while we're here. We have excellent special attack, and we also have a very strong water-type move in Surf. And then we also have Psybeam for the Poliwrath. So the Primeape comes out and we use Surf and we almost knock it out in one hit. With a slither of HP left, we have to take it down with a second Surf, and out comes the Poliwrath. We do over half damage with our first Psybeam. He uses Mind Reader, which means he didn't attack us, and we get the victory. The Storm Badge is ours with a time of 48 minutes and 38 seconds, and we can move on towards the Lake of Rage. The quickest way to get to the Lake of Rage is to chat with Chuck's wife. Chuck's wife gives us Fly, and we'll teach that to Kenya and move on to grab the rare candy. We'll then move on to the Red Gyarados and try and knock it out. I don't think our special attacks are going to be the way forward for this, so instead we will use Swift. We get a critical hit to take it down in just 2 shots. And with the red scale in our back pocket, we can now take a little chat with Lance. Again, nothing of interest ever happens during the Rocket storyline, so we'll cut through to the end where we get Whirlpool and we can start thinking about taking on Price. Price is a bit of a weird one because his 2 Pokemon before the Ace are both going to resist our Water-type moves, and then his Ace is going to be weak to them. So once we've taken out the Seal and the Dugong, the battle will be very easy. I use Surf against Seal, even though it is not very effective because it still does over half damage, but I switch to Swift for the Dugong. We do just under half damage with the first hit, just under half damage with the second hit, so it is a 3-shot. And finally the Piloswine comes out. A single Surf is all it takes to knock it out, and we have defeated Price. And that means we can move straight on to Jasmine. Jasmine is a Steel-type leader. She's got a pair of Magnemite and a Steelix, and for once this battle goes very smoothly. We're able to outspeed and take out both Magnemite in one hit. And then Steelix is part ground type, which means it's weak to our Surf and goes down in just 1 shot as well. It's so good to have a nice Jasmine fight after so many that can be just an absolute pain. And with the mineral badge safely in our hands, we can go and do a little bit of housekeeping. Our first stop is Cherry Grove City, where we pick the Mystic Water up. This is just like the Nevermelt Ice and the Charcoal from previous runs. It'll give a 10% boost to our water type moves. We get the rare candy and finally take on Sprout Tower in Violet City. We grab the return TM from the lady in the department store. We get another rare candy just to the south of Goldenrod, and now it's time to head underground as we take on rival number 4. The rival battles always seem to get easier the further along we go. That's due to a combination of his team not really having any cohesion, and we have a lot more type coverage moves than we do at the start of the game. So a couple of Surfs is all it takes to take out the first 2 Pokemon. We're on to Meganium. Meganium has quite a bit of bulk, but doesn't really have anything to hit hard with, so it's just a couple of Aurora Beams to knock it out. We have Psybeam for the Haunter to take that out, and the final Pokemon is Sneasel. Sneasel has great stats, but in all the wrong places and gets taken down with a single Surf. And then we can grab a couple more bits in Goldenrod before we leave. We'll get the pink bow off Mary after saving her from Team Rocket, and we'll go downstairs to grab the radio card. If we don't grab the radio card, we'll be stuck in one part of Kanto forever, and we don't want that because we want to face Red. In the Ice Path, we pick up the Nevermelt Ice, and that's going to give us a 10% boost to our Ice-type moves. And now we can take on Claire. Claire is an actual Dragon-type leader, unlike that liar Lance, and that is perfect for us because we have Aurora Beam. So we're going to use Aurora Beam on the Dragonette to take it out in 1 shot. We're going to use Aurora Beam on the second Dragonette to take that out in 1 shot. Out comes the third Dragonette, and it's another Aurora Beam to take that down, and that just leaves Kingdra. And this is one of the easiest Kingdra battles we will ever face. It doesn't want to attack us, it just wants to lower our accuracy with Smokescreen. However, we've got Swift, and Swift bypasses accuracy checks, so without taking a single point of damage, we knock it out and we get the Rising Badge. That's all 8 badges of Johto safely tucked away, so it's now time to head eastwards towards the Pokemon League. We grab the rare candy and then we go into Victory Road where we have our final rival battle. This time he starts with Sneasel, and as I said earlier, Sneasel has great stats but in all the wrong places, so it goes down to a single Surf. Magneton's next, and it goes down to a single surf as well. Now, would you like me to create the graphics that I do for the gym leaders for the rival battles and other significant battles in the game? Would it be worth me spending a few hours doing that, or do you think it's fine not having them in the video? Please do let me know, because if you think it makes the video look better and flow a little bit better, I will more than happily do it for you. But with that, we have defeated the rival for yet another run, and we can start thinking about world domination, or at the very least defeating the Pokemon League. So the first thing we do is heal up at Nurse Joy, and then we will go and deposit our HM friends for another run. So we say thank you to Kenya, to Abra, to Psyduck, and to Paris. You've all been a great help throughout the Johto region. You've helped me get around, and I'm sure you'll be a great help in the Kanto region as well. But for now, it's Octillery's time to shine as we grab our 4 full restores, and we'll take a look at the stats at the League. We have 159 HP at level 53. Our moves are Surf, Aurora Beam, Swift and Psybeam. We're still holding the Never Melt Ice. And our attack is 151, our defense is 110, our special attack is 147, our special defense is 115, and our speed is 84. First up is Will. Will is a Psychic type trainer with 5 Pokemon, and he will lead with Xatu. Xatu is going to be weak to Aurora Beam, and it goes down in a single shot. Out comes the Executor, and Executor is also weak to Aurora Beam, and a critical hit knocks it out. Jinx is third, and Jinx is down in 1. And now the pace will slow right down as Slowbro comes out. Slowbro doesn't really have any attacking threat, but it can stall you out with PP. So it'll take quite a few turns to knock it out, and we learn Ice Beam off the back of it. Ice Beam is a brilliant move, and it's going to be perfect for Lance the Liar, and we'll give it a test run on this Xatu. Ooh, delicious, it knocks it out in 1, and we can move on to Koga. Koga is a poison type trainer with 5 Pokemon, and he will lead with that very scary looking Ariados. I've been asked to do an Ariados run, but it's going to take a lot of bravery for me to do it because I have such a huge phobia of spiders. Every time I see Ariados on screen, I sort of look towards my Pokemon sprite instead. But we knocked it out, we knocked out the Venomoth as well. Fortress goes down in a single shot, and out comes Muck. We do over half damage with our Psybeam, he uses Minimize, so we switch to Swift, and Swift knocks it out. We then try an Ice Beam on the Crobat, but it outspeeds us and uses Double Team, so it's Swift time once more. Swift has proven to be very, very handy in this run. From getting through rival number 2 all the way in Azalea Town to bypassing all those accuracy checks for these pesky evading Pokemon, it really has been worth its weight in gold. But we are now through Koga and on to Bruno. Bruno leads with Hitmontop, and Hitmontop loves to dig. We don't quite knock it out in one shot, which means we're going to have to waste a turn of PP, and then we get straight back to work on it. We knock it out, and out comes the Hitmonchan. We use Psybeam this time, but that doesn't quite knock it out. Hitmonchan's special attack is really low though, and Thunder Punch does barely anything. We're onto the Hitmonlee, and once again we take it just into the red. This is where Octillery starts to flounder a little bit. It doesn't quite have the power to OHKO anything. It can take things into the red, but it can't quite knock them out in one shot. So we're taking a couple of extra turns in each battle, and that time is going up and up as a result. Onyx, however, does go down in one hit because it's 4 times weak to water and doesn't have really good stats. And it's at this point we swap our Never Melt Ice for the Mystic Water as we take on Karen. Karen is a dark type leader, and she will lead with that very, very annoying Umbreon. So we try and surf it, we take it down in a lucky critical hit, no sand attack for us. Now Ice Beam takes care of the Vileplume, no paralysis for us either, thank you very much. And we're on to Gengar, who heard us saying mean things about Karen last time, so it swears at us before going down to Surf. The next Pokemon is Murkrow, and we have Ice Beam to knock it out in one shot, and the final Pokemon is Houndoom. Houndoom has quite good special attack, but does go down to a single Surf after dealing a little bit of damage, and we are through Karen on our first try. And that just leaves Lance the Liar. Lance is a flying type trainer, he's got 6 Pokemon and will lead with a Gyarados. Now we have something to take care of those 3 dragon type Pokemon that he has, and the rest we're just going to have to wing a little bit. We use Swift against the Gyarados, hoping it would set up Rain Dance, but of course because we are a water type as well, he won't. We're on to Dragonite number 1, and 4 times weak to an Ice Beam with a critical hit is more than enough to knock it out. That was a little bit overkill, Octillery, calm it down a little bit. Regular Ice Beam on the second one knocks it out, and out comes Dragonite number 3. That goes down, and now we have the 2 Pokemon weak to water. So we surf against the Aerodactyl as it outspeeds an Ancient Powers, doing minimal damage, and the final Pokemon is Charizard. Charizard deals quite a bit of damage with a critical hit Hyper Beam, but it's not enough to save the battle, and we have defeated Lance in a time of 1 hour, 27 minutes and 46 seconds. But there's still a whole nother region to come, so Kanto is next. Before we end up in Kanto though, we have a couple of bits left to do in the Johto region. The first thing we're going to do is chat with Professor Elm. He's got the SS tickets for us to let us get to Kanto, and he's also got a Master Ball for us. That is something we skipped on our first pass through back of New Bark Town because we wanted to get to the League. Now it's time to say welcome back to Kenya, to Abra, to Psyduck and to Paris. I hope they had a lovely break and now they're ready to help in the next part of the run. And as the music was foreshadowing, it is time to spend all our money again. It's a grand total of 80,000 Pokédollars for our next move. We're going to go to the move tutor, who is only available on Wednesdays and Saturdays in Pokemon Crystal, and we are going to buy Flamethrower. Flamethrower is going to replace Swift, because although Swift has got us through some sticky situations, I think Flamethrower's chance to burn and higher base power will be a little bit better for us. And with that, we can move on into Mount Mortar. In Mount Mortar, we've got another rare candy to pick up, we've got one more in the Whirl Islands, and then we can finally make our way into Kanto proper. And of course, the first thing we're going to do in Kanto proper is the last thing we do in Johto. We pick up yet another rare candy. This one is from the chairman of the Pokemon fan club. He tells us about his Rapidash. And now we can move on to Erica. Erica is our first Cantonian gym leader. She is a grass type leader and she leads with Tangela. So this gives us a nice chance to test out our Flamethrower, and Tangela goes down in a single hit. Next up is Jumpluff. We've got Ice Beam for Jumpluff, 4 times weak to ice, so goes down in a single shot. Victory Bell has a Flamethrower with its name on it, and the final Pokemon is Blossom. Blossom goes down to a single Ice Beam, and it's at this point I started to think Psybeam is a little bit redundant. It's only got 60 base power, and we have other moves that can take out the Pokemon that we were going to be using Psybeam for. So I go into my bag and I teach Return to our Octillery in place of Psybeam. That means we have a nice physical move just in case we come up against something with high special defense. And with that we can move on to Misty. Misty is a water type leader and we don't really have anything too good against Misty apart from Return. So it was really fortunate timing there. We've got Surf for the Quagsire because it's part ground type, and then we're on to Lapras. We have to return the Lapras, and it uses a Blizzard for very, very little damage. Her final Pokemon is a Starmie. It's fast and can hit quite hard, and in this instance uses Confuse Ray. I really should think about using a Bitter Berry for this battle, but I've got to be honest, when I'm playing through I always forget they exist. It doesn't matter anyway though, we knock out the Starmie to get the Cascade Badge, and we were straight on to Sabrina. Sabrina only has 3 Pokemon, they're all quite high base stats, and they're all Psychic types. Sand Attack misses from the Espeon though, and we take it down in a single Surf. Out comes the Mr. Mime, and Mr. Mime goes down to a single Surf as well. Her final Pokemon is Alakazam. It uses Reflect, but that's no good for it because Surf is a special attack, and we have defeated Sabrina. We get the Marsh Badge, and we can move straight on to Lieutenant Surge. Surge is going to be quite scary because he is an electric-type leader. He leads with Raichu, so we've just got to hope we outspeed all the Pokemon with the electric-type attacks. We use Flamethrower on the Magneton because we finally have a super effective move against Magneton, and out comes Electabuzz. Electabuzz goes down in a single hit, and his final 2 Pokemon are Electrode. Electrode don't really have anything that can damage us quite significantly, but they love to use Double Team. In this instance though, we hit through both Double Teams and we get the Thunder Badge, and we can move on to Brock. Brock is a Rock-type leader, and he is going to be trivial. The lion's share of his Pokemon are 4 times weak to Surf, so Graveler goes down straight away. Kabutops is next. Kabutops is neutral to Surf, however it also goes down in one shot. Out comes the Omastar. Omastar isn't a star performer in this run and goes down. That just leaves Rhyhorn, which is 4 times weak to Water, and his final Pokemon is Onyx. Onyx is weak to Water and goes down just like all the other Pokemon, so we have defeated Brock and got our 13th badge. And now, before we get our next badge, we have a little bit more housekeeping to do. We've got a chat with Blue here at Cinnabar Island, and we also have to pick up the final rare candy of the Kanto region. This one's tucked away just north of the volcano, and we can move on to what might be an even more trivial battle. It's Blaine, the absolute legend. He has 3 fire types, and he's leading with poor Magcargo. Magcargo is 4 times weak to water and goes down to a single Surf. The Bumhead Fireduck doesn't do much better and also gets knocked out with a Surf. The final Pokemon is Rapidash. Rapidash attacks us with Fury, but it's not enough to save it as we knock it out with yet another Surf. That means we now have the Volcano badge and we can move on to Janine. Janine is our final themed gym leader. She is a poison type leader, the daughter of Koga, and her first Pokemon is a pesky Crobat that goes down to an Ice Beam. Ariados is next, and it looks like Ariados cannot swim because it gets knocked out with Surf. Weezing goes down in much the same manner, and out comes her next Weezing. We surf away the Weezing to get rid of all its toxic fumes, and the Venomoth is next. She loves using a dire hit on the Venomoth, and that just means she never gets a chance to attack. We have the Soul Badge, and that leaves Blue left to go. Blue is our final gym leader to take on. He is a mixed type gym leader with a lot of Generation 1 Pokemon. His lead is Pidgeot, and Pidgeot does actually outspeed our Octillery. So we take a little bit of damage from a wing attack, but a critical Ice Beam takes it down in one. Out comes the Executor, and we Ice Beam that away in one shot as well. The third Pokemon is Alakazam. We go to Surf for Alakazam as he raises his entire team's physical defense. The next Pokemon is Gyarados. We don't have anything super effective against the Gyarados, however Ice Beam does hit for neutral damage. I use Surf on the next turn to try and keep him out of healing range, but it doesn't quite work out like that, and Blue uses a full restore. However, a lucky critical hit on an Ice Beam knocks him down very quickly. The Reflect fades as Arcanine comes out. He uses Extreme Speed for a little bit of damage, but Surf is strong against him to take him out, and Rhydon is 4 times weak to Surf, so he goes down straight away. And with that, we have all 16 badges of the Kanto region, so we can move on to Professor Oak. He is going to unlock Mount Silver for us, where our final challenge awaits. But of course, before we get to the red fight, we have to pick up our 10th and final rare candy of the run. This one is definitely the easiest to miss out of all the rare candies, because you would never go there unless you were intentionally picking it up. But it is now time for red. As always, we'll try at our current level and then take things from there. First Pokemon is the Pikachu, which uses Charm on us. However, Surf does Oko. That is a really good sign. Venusaur's next, and it starts to take in Sunlight. However, a very, very lucky critical hit on an Ice Beam knocks it out in one. Red sends out Espeon, who uses Reflect, but we are only using special attacks. Psychic deals huge damage, but we do knock out the Espeon. That does mean we're very vulnerable to this Snorlax, and a single Body Slam is all it takes to knock us out. It's time to try again, this time at level 69. We do get charmed by the Pikachu, but we are mostly using our special attacks and we knock it out. Out comes the Venusaur. We don't outspeed it, we don't get a critical hit as it takes in the Sunlight, and a single Solar Beam is all it takes to knock us out. So we'll try again at level 72 with Hyper Beam in replace of Return. We outspeed and knock out the Pikachu in a single hit, and out comes the Venusaur. We outspeed the Venusaur this time, and it starts to take in Sunlight. That is the perfect possible outcome, because it means we're on full health for the Espeon. We don't outspeed the Espeon as it sets up a Reflect, and Surf does just over half damage. He deals just over half damage back with a Psychic, and that means we're only on 105 for the Snorlax. I use Surf to take roughly a quarter as he uses Amnesia. I try Hyper Beam and it does next to nothing. We get knocked out with 2 Body Slams, and now it's time to do what I like to call panic shopping. I go straight to Celadon to see what TMs I can get, and I really don't know what I'm wanting to buy at this point. I am just stressing all over the place. I buy a TM17, I buy some TM10s. In fact, I buy 12 TM10s, which are hidden power. I have no idea what I was doing here. I was just panicking around. And then I also pick up 5 TM18s, which are Rain Dance. Why 5? I have no idea. I was panicking. I wanted to get a time under 2 hours. However, as you can see, the timer has now gone above 2 hours. I tried a bunch of these different moves. Protect didn't work, so it's now time to try Rain Dance instead. So our new moveset at level 76 this time is Surf, Ice Beam, Flamethrower and Rain Dance. We outspeed the Pikachu and use Surf on it straight away to knock it down in one shot. The next Pokemon is Venusaur. It uses Sunny Day, but we counter it with Rain Dance, and he uses Giga Drain for a little bit of damage, but nowhere near as much as Solar Beam would have done. It takes 2 hits to knock out the Venusaur, but the Quick Claw activated on the second turn, so we're in the green health as the Espeon comes out. A Rain Dance boosted Surf takes Espeon right down to the red, but not quite enough to knock it out, as out comes the Snorlax. We use Surf against it and do a little bit of damage, but a Body Slam knocks us out. I'm getting quite desperate at this point because I want to avoid grinding at all costs. However, I am also out of rare candies. Level 76 is the cap before I need to start the grind. Venusaur comes out and uses Sunny Day. We counter it with Rain Dance. It uses Sunny Day again as we use Ice Beam. We then get a quick claw activation for our Rain Dance, which means it's locked into a 2-turn Solar Beam. Solar Beam does a little bit of damage and we have knocked it out and we're on 135 for the Espeon. We get a better damage roll this time on our Surf and we knock out the Espeon in just one hit. That means we are onto the Snorlax with a lot of HP and we get what might have been my luckiest critical hit in this run to take Snorlax down to a sliver of health, which we can then whittle away with just one more Surf. Out comes the Blastoise and we have nothing that Blastoise won't resist, so we just stick to Surf. He surfs us back, and by the end of this battle, Red and I are both at the very top of the cave with our armbands on, trying to keep our heads above the water, and eventually Blastoise relents and lets us knock it out. That just leaves Charizard, but Charizard slips on the floor. That means we outspeed it and we knock it out in 1. And so with a time of 2 hours, 2 minutes and 43 seconds, we have defeated Red and we have completed our challenge run. I've got to be honest with you, that Red fight got me all in a fluster, but we made it through in the end in a reasonable time to secure 8th spot on our leaderboard. But unfortunately for Pie the Swine, that means it is now in 10th place and the leader on our second page. And with that, we are done. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do leave it a like. If you've got something to say, leave it in the comments below. I now have a Patreon if you want to support even further at patreon.com/trainersquidgy. And if you've really enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing. But as always, thank you so much for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure and I'll see you all very, very soon.